Peace, beautiful Libra Rising people. Thank you guys for tuning into this video. My name is Umi, and I'm just going to be briefly covering some characteristics and personality traits associated with Libra Rising. I do have an incense going, so that's what that mysterious smoke is. So basically, if you are Libra Rising or Ascendant, I'm going to start with some of the negatives. There are a plethora of videos on YouTube about everyone's ascendant sign. So I'm not a Libra rising, so I'm just going to be sharing my experience with friends and family and people that I know have Libra energy prevalent in their chart, but specifically who I know are Libra rising. So some of the negatives I would associate in terms of your characteristics with Libra rising that stick out to me is your inability to really truly speak your mind in certain scenarios. One of my close friends who has Libra rising, she tends to tell me things after the fact about how she really feels, and my response would usually, would kind of be like, well, why didn't you say that, or why didn't you handle it this way, or why didn't you go ahead and let them know? And a part of that has to do with just not wanting to disrupt things, not wanting to stir the pot, not wanting to offend anyone, because you are Libra, you represent the scales, you represent things being harmonious. And that is also associated with that Venusian energy. Venus is about aesthetics and just things being pleasant and calm and harmonious. So unlike an Aries or Scorpio or energy that could be very passionate and fiery and speak up for what they believe in, or at least speak their mind on matters, whether they're right or wrong, you will withhold how you really feel about a thing. And that can be detrimental in relationships and friendships, because you can carry on the relationship past its, intended time. Like the relationship has served its purpose in your life, but because you weren't honest up front or honest when certain events or situations transpired, it can actually keep you in a situation that's uncomfortable for longer than you need to be in that situation. And you can have quite the opinion when you do voice and vocalize how you're feeling, but it's just a matter of actually feeling comfortable enough to deal with confrontation, because you're not really about confrontation. So that's just something to think about, that when you really feel the need to speak up for yourself and about something that doesn't resonate with you, go ahead and do that. It's not always good to just try to be so harmonious and diplomatic in every situation. Another negative I would say is that you tend to have challenges in making certain decisions and sticking to that decision. When you're trying to make decisions that involve compromise, so something that you don't necessarily agree with, but you don't want to, again, stir the pot, you can really prolong making an actual decision about a person, your relationship, a career move, or something that is really a major decision could be a lot more difficult for you than the average person. And you have to keep in mind, the planet itself is on a tilt. Everything seems to be out of balance, unfair, out of whack in a way, and we're all experiencing this, but it's particularly challenging for you because you tend to feel it more. You tend to feel that things just aren't quite balanced, and every day you're having to make decisions that require you to make a choice, and it's not as simple for you because you want life to be fair, you want things to be pleasant for the most part. So it's not to say that you're not willing to enter into a confrontation. It depends on other aspects in your natal chart, whether you're more assertive in certain areas of your life. You can definitely be protective or defensive about your ideas because you are an idealistic person. You operate a lot in the ideal plane where you're thinking and pondering and dreaming of things, and you can want to protect that. So just think about how often you're faced with having to make choices, and what choices in your life you are still fixed on, or maybe you resent certain choices that you've made because it still is like, oh, I should have done this, or I should have said that, or you know, that wasn't fair. I should have maybe handled it this way. Sometimes decisions that other people have long let go of and just, you know, accepted, you may still kind of revisit that, you know, and you don't want that to cause any type of insecurities within yourself and your decision making because you feel that you made the wrong decision at one point. I'm sorry, I don't know where exactly my camera is, so I'm just gonna look in this area. But yeah, so that's something to think about. Another negative, I would say, and this could be a positive, just depends on how you look at it. Because you are attractive, whether everyone in the world would agree that you're physically attractive, you have an attraction, you know, you have a measure of appeal about you. And that just comes with that Venusian energy, Venus, you know, being your ruler. You have just a certain eye for aesthetics. So even if you're someone who, you know, your eyes are maybe really far apart, but it's like beautiful on you, or it's unique, or you have some feature on you that stands out, or you're just very, you know, you're just attractive in some way, man or woman, the challenge with that is that you will attract people, and you may not always like the person or the admirer, but may compromise in some way because they like you, because they find you attractive. So in some cases with relationships, you may not turn a person down or say no, or even in more extreme cases, when you don't want to be intimate with a person, you may go ahead and be intimate with them because that's what they want, even though that's not necessarily what you want. And you may not reflect on it until after the fact, or you may just think, oh, you know, it's just one of those things, you know, I just want to please this person, or I want everyone to be happy, or maybe you really like this person, but things are moving faster than you want, but you will compromise in some way because you want to, you know, keep things going and keep the relationship alive. But that's one of those things you just have to be mindful that, yes, you're attractive, you will attract people, you will attract admirers, and you're flirtatious. Venus she's flirty. That energy is what I'm referring to. It's a flirty energy. It represents that beauty and attractiveness. So be mindful of just how much you're flirting and opening yourself up for situations where it's hard for you to back out, or hard for you to say no, or hard for you to turn people down. And you want to protect that part of you that, you know, has higher goals for yourself. Sometimes you can set your own personal goals for yourself aside, again, when you're in relationships or partnerships, or this could even be in business. You know, if you have a business partner or you work for a company and opportunities come where you have to be competitive and more aggressive and more assertive and more forward moving, you want to make sure you're not kind of shrinking back or settling in any way, my son. And so that you're actually getting what you deserve. You know, if you're a hardworking, dedicated person, you deserve what you deserve to move up, and you deserve to be competitive and in the runnings with everyone else. So something to think about in that regard. I would say another negative would be, it's hard to say that there's like too many negatives with that Libra energy, because it's all about pleasantries, you know, and the beauty and goodness and harmony of the world. But because we live in a world that can be so vicious, the reason I associate some of these things with negatives is because you have to actually, you know, sometimes be in a survival mode, and you have to be aggressive and assertive with certain things. So I was about to say the other negative would be that you're uncomfortable talking about certain things. So for some signs, for example, maybe Pisces or Scorpio, or other songs that are a little more deep, or even can get into more taboo conversations, like you may not feel comfortable. Can you stop, please? I don't want that to fall. Thank you. You may not feel comfortable talking about taboo subjects because it feels a bit, you know, inappropriate in a way, or it could feel uncomfortable for you because you're not too passionate about this or that. Remember, Libra being the scales is that you're all about balance. So where some signs can really dig deep into certain subjects and really talk about things that can shake a person up or shake up their beliefs, you may stay in the clear and stay in a nice safe zone, and you maybe can sit in and listen, but there won't be a whole lot you'll want to contribute if you feel the conversation is taboo. Like if it's about sex, if it's about the occult, if it's about some abuses, if it's about certain topics, you might not want to just have a casual discussion about it. Although Libra and Libra Rising, these people are known to be in the legal profession, known to be in government or fields where they have to be fair and just. So you are exposed to, you know, criminal behavior and things that other people are just don't want to hear about or talk about. You are definitely exposed to those things if that's your profession. But for the most part, you're not the type to just sit amongst people and you know, have vulgar conversation, or you know, you're not raunchy, you're not loud, you're not exaggerated. You know, you have a balance in a sense, and it's not necessarily a negative, unless you find it difficult to just open up and sit among people and have these certain taboo discussions, and you feel like you can't quite open up, or you feel utterly uncomfortable, you know, talking about just some adult shit. Like that could, in that case, it can be a negative. But the positives and the beauty of Libra, that Libra energy, is of course your ability to, it's like when you walk into a room and you're socializing with people and you're talking with people, you're very approachable, and you just have this nature about you that's just pleasant. You know, people may gravitate and they can talk to you and, you know, share things with you, and you'll listen. Even if you don't really care, you'll listen. Even if you don't really give like the true feedback, people sometimes don't mind being lied to. You know, like, oh, how do you like this shirt? You know, you would be the type like, oh yeah, that looks good, I like that. They have other colors, but may not necessarily like it. But to that person, you can hype them up in a way. You can make them feel good about themselves. You can make them feel good about their ideas. So that could be a good thing. It's not necessarily that you're a yes man and you just agree to everything, but you use such finesse and tact when you talk to people that they appreciate your feedback. They want to hear what you have to say. You can tend to be a bit like dreamy or aloof sometime in certain situations. Like with my girlfriend, I know like her children would come over, and sometimes they would just get into everything, you know, like just be into everything. And I have children, so I get it. But I tend to mind my children about what they touch and what they do, especially if we're like at a museum or in someone else's house. Like, no, sit down, don't do that. But with her, she could just tend to just talk and just be in like this another world while her children are doing what they do. And it's almost like in her mind, she's like, oh, they're children. Just let children be children. You know, like almost just seem a bit aloof about certain things. Like, it's okay, everything's fine, everything's just, let things just be. And that may not be the case with you. That's not every Libra. Again, it depends on what other energies in your chart, what other aspects will, you know, affect how you deal with how you raise your children or how you communicate. But for the most part, because you like that harmony, you're not that parent that's always in a, you know, uptight about everything. You can tend to just let things be. And when it comes to your relationships, you know, this is one of those things where you have to accept that every relationship you enter isn't always going to be roses. You're always kind of in search of just this ideal relationship. And with my friend, it almost would plague me to see her go to one relationship after another, because she just had these ideas of what a relationship should be, that, you know, we were intimate together, so we should be together, and I want you to love me. And she would write these very, you know, very sexual poems about her experience with someone, but they could have like, you know, it could have just been like a hit and run type situation, like a one night thing for that person, and they're gone on, but she's still like in this kind of dreaminess about it. So I'm sorry, we're supposed to talk about the positives, but I just had to mention that with your relationships, just be careful that you're not too fixated on this idealistic relationship of romance and sorry, my camera cut off. This ideal relationship of romance, but you can make a very wonderful partner. although you're not too passionate about any one thing, as long as your partner isn't looking for that passionate and emotional stimulation, like if you're dating a Scorpio or someone, they may really want to look for that depth and just intensity, and you're not really in the business of doing all of that. You just like things to be a little more simplified in love. So if your partner, you know, if you and your partner are compatible in that sense, you can have a beautiful relationship, you know, beautiful, harmonious relationship, because you guys won't create a lot of domestic issues and fights and arguments and drama, because that's not what you're in the business of doing. You may definitely have a very harmonious environment in terms of your home life or your apartment or your office. It could just be very pleasant and clean and aesthetically, you know, pleasing. And that's attractive to people. So not only are you physically attractive, there's usually something about your personality that just seems very balanced. So that's something to think about, beautiful Libra risings, is your career. If you're not sure what you could do or what you'd be good at, you'd definitely be good in anything that deals with, obviously, diplomacy, mediation, listening to both sides of a story, even counseling, something along the lines of anything that's Venusian, you know, in terms of decor and aesthetics, and you know, maybe you do physical therapy or Reiki, or, you know, things that are easy for you to do and in your comfort zone, that don't require a lot of stress and mental anguish and competition and fierce competition. Like, find something that supports your energy, and it definitely can be an asset to your community, to your company that you work for, what you bring. You know, you bring this sense of not only duality, but the duality is more or less showing people both sides of the coin, showing people how the difference in things, or how things could turn out, or, you know, just showing options, because your mind can kind of see in that arena. And then you're also able to have a more balanced perspective on things, which I've mentioned before. That is, you can't take that for granted, because everyone doesn't have that ability to just have a balanced view of the world, a balanced view of relationships. And as long as you're not too dreamy or too caught up in idealisms, you can definitely, you know, just have a lot to offer, you know, to the world. So if you are a Libra rising, you can look at your other planetary, you know, your other positions in your natal chart to see what else is affecting or impacting your life, your decision making, your characteristics, your behavior. But for the most part, you are, you know, you're a pleasant, harmonious, attractive, gifted, creative, artistic person. You have so much to offer, man or woman, it doesn't matter. And even my male friend who's a Libra, he loves to talk. So he'll call me and he'll have so much to share. And I think that's wonderful that you have a lot to share with people. And you know, unlike, I know Pisces can sometimes talk. With you, Libra, you can talk with the intent to just share, you know, to give of yourself. And that's wonderful. No offense to Pisces if you're Pisces. I just referenced certain negative traits in other signs in comparison to the sign I'm talking about or addressing in this video. So yeah, when you talk and share and open up with people, it's definitely an invitation for others to do the same. And this could be healing to other people, especially those who are closed off, who are antisocial, who are introverted. You could be that friend that comes over to just kind of sit with them and help them to be at ease or at peace, you know, with just their social identity. You know, everyone's not about being in big crowds, but you could definitely be that friend that you know, just has a social component to add. You're social butterfly for the most part. You like to talk to people. So a lot of positives there. I hope you guys found this information on Libra Rising useful. If you are Libra Rising, please add more in the comments. Share your particular perspective on it. You may meet your, astro twin, cosmic twin, people who have the same sign and energy as you. So I'm going to cut the video off here. Be sure to subscribe for future videos on astrology and mental health. And thank you guys for watching.